Hello and welcome to our Candidates Night. My name is Rich Schoberg. I'm one of the PTO presidents here at Huckleberry Hill, and I'm excited to be working tonight with our friend Jackie Driscoll, one of the PTO presidents at the Summer Street Elementary School. We're looking to provide this opportunity for parents and citizens of Lynnfield to learn more about each candidate running for office this year.
So I'm going to fill you in a little bit on tonight's format. The evening will be conducted as a town hall style forum. We've asked each candidate to prepare an opening statement of no more than 2 minutes. After all statements are read, we will open up the floor so that all of you can ask the questions that matter most to you. Before asking a question, we ask that you please give your name and your street, much like how we conduct town meeting in town. Also working with us will be Heather Rose, acting as a spotter, along with Rich and myself.
The only other guidelines we have, in essence of time, are that we ask you to keep your questions to the point and hold any applause to the end of the evening so that we have the opportunity to hear more from the candidates. And for the candidates, we please ask that you keep your answers to under 3 minutes, and we will give you a signal when it may be time to start wrapping it up. And if I could also please ask everyone to silence their cell phones. And with that, let's start at the end of the table with the candidates and their opening statements.
Rich and Jackie, thank you. I'd like to thank the people who came here tonight to participate in this discussion. Most importantly, I want to thank the PTOs for organizing it and for all the hard work they do to really provide the very best for our students and our children. So thank you for the work you do. On April 13th, you have a chance to participate in a very important election. The result of this election will set the course for Lynnfield for years to come. Your choice is between a candidate like myself, who is a proven leader in town, who has spent many years and countless hours giving back to the community in various capacities. I am currently chairman of the school committee, an active member of the personnel board, and the library building committee. I am vice chair of the Lynnfield Catholic Collaborative Council and have previously served on the Lynnfield Recreation Commission. I did not wait to be asked to be on the committees and boards. I took the initiative to get involved years ago. I am well versed in the workings of many aspects of our community, and that is what a true leader does. I volunteer my time and talents for no other reason to give back. My professional record of accomplishment in both the public and private sector qualifies me for this role. I currently work, and I'm honored to be an assistant principal in Everett Public Schools. And prior to entering education, I helped run a successful insurance business, was Governor Mitt Romney's Director of Municipal Affairs, and his Lieutenant Governor's Chief of Staff. Most importantly, I'm a proud father of 2 school-aged children. One currently is a member of this great school, the Huckleberry Hill School. And I'm going to use my vast experience to work hard to preserve the investment we've made in Lynnfield Public Schools. When it became apparent that we needed to improve the Lynnfield Middle School, I took the leadership role, working with my fellow committee members to implement the necessary changes that has put the middle school on the path to being a level 1 school. Our board saw the need to improve special education. I took the leadership role, working with my committee members to increase programming, increase staff, and provide the resources necessary to move special education in the right direction. I've done this and more for Lynnfield Public Schools. And I want to do the same great work I've done on the school committee as a selectman on the Lynnfield Board of Selectmen. I thank you again, and I request your vote humbly on April 13th. Thank you.
Hello, and thank you everyone for coming tonight. My name is Katie Shea, and I'd like to thank the PTOs for inviting us in. I know this was a big effort, and for all of you to show up. This is a true testament to how many people really truly care about our community. And we're all fortunate to live in such a wonderful town. I too grew up in Lynnfield, and I graduated from Lynnfield High School. One of the reasons why I moved back to Lynnfield is because I always felt like this was home. Why I got involved with Lynnfield and upon my moving back here is because Linfield did something very special for me. When I was in high school, I was president of my class for 4 years, and I was a student that had to work my way through college. Upon graduation, I got 4 years' worth of scholarship money from Linfield, and for that I will always be indebted because this community helped to set me on my path. I graduated from business school, Bentley University, and I got my MBA at Northeastern. I'm particularly interested in Linfield because I want to give back and I want to provide additional transparency to the people in this town. What I did over a year ago is I launched a blog called Linfield Transparency, and I believe it's important for you to have accurate information for you to make important decisions regarding this town. I am a business owner. I am the only candidate that writes paychecks. I own a manufacturing business with my husband up in Salisbury. And this business is something that I'm very familiar with the global economy, because when we purchased our business, it was actually, we were in trouble because of our customers were closing shop and moving to China. We had to retool our factory, reposition our product line. As your selectman, I'm very sensitive to education. As I've said, I have a daughter that graduated from Linfield High School. I've raised children. They're being launched off to college, and they're in college right now. I want to prepare the children of Linfield for a global economy, because they're going to be up against a big mountain when they leave Linfield. So I believe in education. As PTO members, as your selectmen, I will be able to work with department heads and build our budgets based on need, while ensuring we can continue to improve our school system and while we increase operational efficiencies. Our revenues have increased by 2.94%, but our spending has increased by over 6%. As Governor Baker has stated, this is an unsustainable path. I believe the town meeting vote is the purest form of government, and your vote should not be overturned. As a proven leader, I will be elected to represent you and provide you with transparency and work to make Linfield an even better community to live in. In addition, in 2008, I wrote a white paper for the middle school because my children, there was a problem with the math program. And what happened at this point in time is I took it upon myself to write the paper. I contacted other schools that were higher achievers in math, and I submitted this, and the finding was we just needed more time in math. So that was something that I did back in 2008. When you're choosing a selectman, it's like hiring a manager. But I'm the person with the skills and the credentials that will work best for you. I have the time, and I have the commitment, I have the passion. So I'm hoping on April 13th that you will vote for me. Thank you very much.
Good evening, I'm Tim Doyle, and I am a candidate for school committee. And like the previous two speakers, I grew up here in Linfield. I graduated from Linfield High, and I'm looking to give back to the community that gave so much to me. And my journey actually began 15 years ago, in 2000, when I joined the Linfield School Committee. And at that time, I was looking simply to give back to the community that gave so much to me. And during that time, I had two children, and as they got older and as my life began to change and different demands came upon my life, decided to get off the school committee. And actually, that was only 3 years ago, believe it or not. In that time, my children have gone into the Linfield Public Schools, and they're currently enrolled at Summer Street. But my decision to seek another term wasn't out of any thirst for power or anything like that. It was simply just to make sure the public schools continue on the same path that they've been on for really the past 15 years. And looking at the landscape and hearing some chatter about people saying, well, we're going to try level funding, or maybe we got to do a little bit with the budget here, that really concerned me. That really, really concerned me. I was part of the school committee, and I can tell you, you can deliver a good education with fiscal responsibility. You cannot deliver a good education with substantial budget cuts. So as I did in my previous tenure, I'll be guided by some simple principles: fiscal conservatism and advocacy, careful analysis of all our programs to make sure that they're run effectively and efficiently, a strong and unyielding partnership with community leaders, and obviously always acting in the best interest of the students. Guided by these tenets, I'm confident I will be the leader I was before. I'm confident I can give a lot to the school committee, and I ask for your vote on April 13th. Thank you.
Michael Walsh. I'm running for the Housing Authority here in Lynnfield. I grew up in Lynnfield. I'm an attorney in private practice. I have a small family firm where I do mostly military criminal defense and criminal defense as well here in the Commonwealth. I'm running for Housing Authority. This actually, if I'm elected, it will be a second term for me. I previously filled out Mr. Jack Donegan's term when he unfortunately passed away. My time on the Housing Authority was amazing. It is not many people here in Lynnfield know that we have a Housing Authority. There's a small complex off of Ross Drive here in Lynnfield, which has 64 units of elderly housing. The Housing Authority supervises that and keeps it in good form and good order. It also has a mandate from the state to provide housing for handicapped individuals, and it does so by supervising a facility on Main Street under state supervision. The Housing Authority is one of the select few in the state that is revenue positive, it is well managed, it is also not subsidized by any state or federal grants. It effectively generates its own money, it's well managed, it controls its own budget, it's able to bank money every year and put it away for long-term improvements. There are 6 buildings down there, including the resident community center. And many of them are former Lynnfield residents or people who move in. And the reason I want to run for Housing Authority is I want to give back to them. It requires a special sensitivity to when the government is not only the sovereign and takes your taxes, but also when the government is your landlord and your maintenance crew and your management company. The Housing Authority is very well run. The current chairman, Bruce Siegel, is stepping down, and I'm running unopposed to fulfill his term. I think he's done great work, and the Housing Authority has done a lot of great work, and I'd like to continue doing it. Beyond that, the only other question I get as I've gone door knocking around is, aren't you a little young for this? And the first answer, of course, would be to point to my friend Joe Markey, who's currently on the board. But my favorite answer was given by Bobby Kennedy in 1966. And he said that this world demands the qualities of youth. Youth is not a time of life, but a frame of mind. It is a predominance of will, an appetite for adventure over a life of ease, an intention to do right under all circumstances. I believe I have that, and therefore I ask for your vote on April the 13th.
And that concludes our opening statement. So now we open the floor to all of you to field questions. Don't all jump at the chance.
Yes, please.
My name is Susan McDonough. I live at 167 Fork Road, and like everybody on the panel, I went to Lynnfield schools we didn't have kindergarten then, but anyway. I'm dating myself, and I was a Summer Street girl, not Huckleberry. My question is geared to the selectman candidates, and Mr. Barrett actually, probably in particular. I'd be curious to know how you might plan to make the transition from your responsibilities as a school committee member to responsibilities that go beyond that to the whole town, taxpayers who perhaps might not have children in the schools, but still want a solid school system. But the roles are different, and I'm curious how you might handle that.
Well, I want to thank you for that question. I think it's a very good question. It'll be an easy transition. I was a very effective member of the school committee, current chair. My prior role working in government, I was Governor Romney's Director of Municipal Affairs. I know better than anybody the difficulty it is to be a selectman. I also understand what it means to put together a budget. One of the things I did when I worked for Governor Romney is I would work with the governor directly, he and myself and other municipal leaders, about their budgets. I know the concerns. I know the concerns that deal with education, public safety, housing. There's a whole assortment of concerns. The one thing I bring to this race is I'm the only person between the two candidates here for selectmen, who's actually had to make the difficult decisions on the municipal budget. I've made those difficult decisions. I've had to put together the budget of the schools for the last 3 years, work with my fellow members to make sure that that budget is not only efficient, but it maximizes every resource. The one thing I promise the people of Lynnfield is I will bring that same type of focus on the budget on the other side and with all of government in Linfield and make sure we're maximizing our resources. The one thing I will do as a selectman is I will request to be the liaison to the schools. My opponent, and I know there's discussions of level funding, and I know, Katie has, my opponent has, in her statement tomorrow in the papers, she talks about, do we really need to go up to 2.5% every year? I understand the importance of that because I had put together, as I said, the school department budget. And I understand the need that we have to fully and reinvest in our community. A reinvestment will help us build up our reserves, help us put money back into the capital, help us fund public safety, help us fund the senior center. So there's a lot I'll bring to it. And I'm the only one here who helped put together half the budget for the town of Linfield.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chris. Oops, sorry.
Thanks.
Yeah, okay. What I wanted to, okay. Sorry for putting my back to all of you. What I wanted to show you is, as far as me moving ahead to be your selectman, if you so choose to elect me, is the first thing I've done is I put together a chart on how Linfield spends money. So this is based on our 2016 budget. So as you can see here, 49% of our budget, we have a $50 million budget, goes to schools. And that's really what we should do. I mean, when we look at our money as a town, it's kind of like we're a family sitting around the table deciding where are we going to put our money. And I think the majority of us put our money towards our children, in their education. So that's where our money, that's where 49% of the budget is. 13% of our budget over here is over at Public Works. This right here could be a little bit misleading because there's some school money in there with the buses. So anyways, but that's the Department of Public Works. But when you look over here at 11%, this is the next biggest number here we have on the pie chart. That's employee benefits. And that's something that we have to continue to watch. And that's something that as your selectman and as a business owner, I have to continue to watch because that's our health care, that's funding our pension. And this is something that as your selectman, not only will I, we have to continue to fund it moving forward, but it's something that we need to keep in check and balance because we have to make sure that we are funding our schools, our DPW, our police. So that's something that it's important because right now, our liability, our unfunded liability on our OPEB, which is other employee benefits, is $21 million. And we're funding that at about a third rate. So that is going to creep up on us. And what I mean by that is we'd have to have an aging scale of when, this is healthcare, OPEB is healthcare. We have to have an aging scale of when people are going to be retiring and what our commitment will be year to year. And the reason why we need that is because when we start planning into the future, we have to make sure that we're accounting for what we're going to need to fund this moving forward. Okay, so that's why this is very important. Let's see. Another thing that I want to show you here. This is another chart. We're taking a look at Linfield employees, how our employees are growing over the past several years. This is anyone with over 25 hours a week. So we can see that we've had a spike here with our employees. And when we're hiring our employees, we also have to think of the pension, which is the retirement that they'll get, and their health care obligations. So this is something that, in the future, we're in good shape now, but we have to watch who we're hiring because in addition to hiring them, they're also going to be retiring. So as your selectman, this is something that I've already started to look into. I've done it proactively, and I'll continue to do that. Thank you very much.
Next question.
Paula Paziali, Loxley Road. I have a question about the employee graph we just saw. How does that relate to the growth of the town? So as a relationship to the growth of the town, obviously the rate of the employees will grow.
Thank you for that question. Based on our latest census report, the town hasn't grown that much. It hasn't. I mean, I can tell you, I run that Linfield Transparency blog and I put stuff up and people submit things. It hasn't grown that much, but what we do have, what has changed is Market Street, but that's not accounting for all the employees that we have there. It's not. It's not. So I really haven't dug into that answer, but as far as the population, it's, no, I haven't seen it with the latest census.
Well, I think one of the most important things with that discussion is one of the importance of half that budget that Katie just showed in her prop, is I don't need any on-the-job training. It's more than graphs. For me, that half that budget, there's students behind those numbers. When we're talking about not going up to 2.5% of fully funding and reinvesting in the community, we're talking about cutting back staff. So the employees that we're talking about, the ones in the schools, the ones that I care especially about right now as chairman of the school committee, we'd have to remove those employees. We'd have to make cuts. I mean, this year alone, if we fully invest, went up to 2.5, that's about $900,000 this year. If we were not to go up to that, the first cuts would probably come from the schools. My opponent says she's going to continue to invest in the schools. I disagree, because I know that the biggest place to make those cuts are the employees that you're talking about in the community. It'll be in the schools. We'll have to cut the capital projects that we just put forward for the schools. We'll have to cut the security cameras in the schools. We'll have to cut the technology initiative. So there's a lot of difficult decisions we have to make. Unlike my opponent, I've sat at the table, I've made those difficult decisions, I've had those difficult conversations. And I'm willing and I'm looking forward to having those conversations as a selectman on the board. So I understand the need to continuously to reinvest in Linfield and make sure we're fully funding our budget, so we're not talking about what employees are we going to remove because we don't want to fully reinvest at 2.5%.
Hi. The red sweater. Yes.
Hi, Lucy Harris from Logan Street. Katie, I have a question. So I saw your graphs, but I also have managed my budgets before. You showed where we're spending the money, but where do you feel the wiggle room is? Because you're saying it's not in the schools. It seems to me that you're saying it's in the employees that we've hired. So I'd just like to know where you think that 2.5% might come from.
Okay. First of all, this year, what happened was we got $2.5 million of new growth. So I could start writing another chart, but when we look at when we do our 2.5% maximum levy limit, we get about $900,000 from that levy. Okay. And then what ended up happening is we need to thank our assessors in this town because they did a wonderful job. They had an outside assessor go up and assess Market Street. So it was estimated that we were going to get about $800,000 of new growth revenue from Market Street. We actually got $2.5 million of new growth revenue from Market Street. So this was the year that Linfield had $3.4 million of new cash coming in between our 2.5 limit. What ended up happening was the money started piling up. And this is where the tax to the max came from, because as we were looking at the numbers, we were like, but this was the year that, and I've been going to a lot of coffees, people were under the understanding that when Market Street came in, it would help level out their tax rate. They wouldn't be going to the ceiling. For the past 12 years, Linfield's been going to the 2.5 levy limit ceiling. So anyways, so now we have all this cash coming in. What ended up happening is that we actually paid a note off for $840,000. Because we had excess cash. In my opinion, what we should have done for this year, I'm talking about this year, is we should have seen that cash coming in sooner, and we should have had a special town meeting, and people should be able to vote, what do you want to do with that cash? For instance, right now, Mr. Barrett talked about the middle school being a level 2 school. I can show you another chart on the middle school, but we might want to have hired an additional, some additional teachers at the middle school because we have our highest student-teacher ratio there at 14.3. So that's what I'm saying is this year I'm talking about the additional cash for this year. The other thing is, as far as overall where we can get more efficiencies, my experience has been when you have we have a town administrator who's a great town administrator, but getting a different set of eyes to look at the efficiencies of the organization. And what I mean by that is, when you start looking at what I would like to implement is quarterly reviews to see how the expenses are actually being paid. Because our fiscal calendar starts June 30th to July 1st, and what we see is a top line budget, so we see the numbers everybody can spend, but we don't actually monitor on a quarterly basis how it's being spent. And what happens a lot is if you don't spend your money, it's like use it or lose it. So, you don't want your budgets to go down. So where I would start as a management person is to look specifically there. We could start looking at the ambulance service at the fire department, because right now the ambulance services, where it's costing us about $1.3 million, and we're taking in about $800,000, so that looks like a logical place to start outsourcing it. The challenge is, and the challenge with that is we need to look at, instead of me coming up here saying I can save you $500,000, we need to start looking at when these ambulance calls are happening, because we have 3 ambulances, and if we start outsourcing, are we going to have to, when we do the contract, we have to find out if we're going to burden ourselves with peak periods, and then when we go out on an ambulance call, if someone is hurt, we have two EMTs going out plus the fire truck, and I would like to know how often do we need that many people, because if we outsource it and say, all right now we're going to save $500,000, we might find that we need more than 2 people every time an ambulance service goes out. Plus, I've talked to people in the community about that. That's the most obvious place right now to cut. But I've talked to people in the community who's used the ambulance service. They're like, we like seeing people walk in that we know. So I would definitely look at the ambulance outsourcing, but I can't tell you today that I absolutely do it, because I need to understand the metrics of the calls. Do you need more than 2 people coming out? How much is it going to cost if we outsource? And our billing department actually is billing late. So we outsource our billing, and what I try to do is, they're billing like every 60 days instead of every 30 days, so there's some metrics I need to do before the ambulance, but that's kind of a long answer, but those are the 2 places I'd go. Thank you.
Thank you. I've also been going to a lot of coffees. I've been talking to a lot of people in Linfield, not just in the last year, for a long time, volunteering my time with the leaders of Linfield. Now, I don't think all the decisions we make in Linfield can be made by every single person in the community. I think we're very fortunate that we have some of the very best volunteer leaders in this community. Now, Ms. Shea talked about the Board of Assessors, a great group of individuals, absolutely. She made a very public comment that she does not agree with what they did. I agree with what the Board of Assessors did. They made the right decision. They made the decision with the town administrator in the fall to invest the new growth by paying down the short-term debt, so we didn't have to roll it over into long-term debt. It saved the community about $300,000. Now, I will say this, if the Board of Assessors had that opportunity to do that with the town administrator, in my experience working with Governor Romney as Director of Municipal Affairs, with the approval of the Department of Revenue, I would have asked them, why didn't they make that decision on my behalf? Because we're all busy. We can't always be called back at the town meeting to make these decisions, that we have very high qualified people like Richard O'Neill, who can help make these decisions for us. So I think we have a lot of great volunteer leaders. I think if you want somebody who's going to micromanage the community, then maybe I'm not your person. I believe in putting people who can work and do well and be leaders for the community in these positions. Similar to the board of the school committee. I'm the chair of the school committee, as everybody knows. I work with the superintendent. I have the complete trust in the superintendent to make the right decisions, as well with the town administrator and the Board of Assessors. I think we have to trust our community leaders, because they've made us into the great place we are today. And the decision that the Board of Assessors made saved Linfield a good amount of money, so that we could invest it in education and invest it in the middle school like I did this year with my fellow members on the school committee. Thank you.
Mr. LaForce.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My question is to Mr. Barrett. At the Business Coalition meeting yesterday, on 3 occasions, Mr. Barrett accused Shea, Miller, and LaCours of recommending level-funded budgets. And I heard that term again tonight. Unfortunately, I think Mr. Barrett is confused. Article 23, which is recommended by Mr. Miller and some associates and passed overwhelmingly by a town meeting vote, did not recommend level-funded budgets. It recommended 2 budgets, neither of which were level-funded. It included new growth, debt exclusion, in one case plus 2.5, in another case no 2.5. I'm getting a little confused by the comments that I'm hearing yesterday and tonight about level-funded budgets. They are not true. They're incorrect, and I frankly don't appreciate them. I would have to say there's been no public statement by Katie Shea, Harry LaCours, or David Miller for level-funded budgets. So I'm tired of hearing those words, Mr. Barrett. You can comment if you like.
Absolutely love to. Well, Mr. LaCourse, I disagree. I disagree with you. We can have that disagreement. Whether we call it 2.5 decrease in new growth or new reinvestment in our community, whether you want to call that level funded or not, or whether my opponent and Dave Miller, if that's the type of agenda you want to bring to the voters of Linfield and work with Tom Terranova on the Board of Selectmen, then so be it. Now, I've had to make difficult decisions. I can't say that enough on the school committee. If you're going to give me the opportunity, because I was around that table with all the department heads, and I had to explain, as I think Mr. Miller said, what's the big deal of a $400,000 or $500,000 cut to the school system? Well, you know what? There's a lot of students behind that number. There's a lot of teachers behind that number, and there's a lot of property value in that number. I'm going to fight for the schools. Now, the two budgets that we discussed, as much as I respect you, Mr. LaCourse, the Secretary of State has told us, our charter says we can't bring two budgets to town meeting. What I do agree with is we provide Linfield with all the information they need to make the right decision. Understand the difficult decisions we're making. The school committee, we put a full year of discussions on that school committee, on the budget, and the priorities of that budget, and how much it affects the budget if I have to go to the voters of Linfield, because I would have to stand up in front of town meeting and defend a budget that was 2.5% less. So I think it's a very simple question to ask. Do you want to have the agenda of my opponent, yourself, in that agenda, and look at the school system every year and look at where are we going to cut, rather than where can we grow our budget and where can we reinvest in the students of Linfield?
Okay. This year, that Article 23 happened because of all the new growth that was coming into Linfield. The Finance Committee approved Article 23. And if we look at what was happening, we projected that there was going to be about the $2.5 million in growth. And as far as all the budget increases, we had a 6% budget increase. We had enough money to cover the expenses of the town. We were trying to challenge and scrub the budget, just to say, let's start from the bottom up to find out what the needs are. Now, I'm going to show you a very interesting chart. Here, I have another chart. Let's see. And I know we're talking about the schools here. So I want to show you, this is a per pupil expenditure. We compared Linfield to a couple of other towns. And what's interesting about this chart is, you can see there's some towns are higher, some towns are lower, but we have Linfield right here, and we compared it to Belmont, which is a level 1 town, Duxbury, which is a level 1 town, and Middleton's just the elementary, because Masco gives it to the high schools. But this gives you a comparison of where Linfield's spending money. And as far as the children of Linfield go, the children of Linfield, the education will continually be funded. What we're talking about Article 23, it wasn't about cutting the budgets, about cutting the budgets, because we knew the new growth money was coming in. It was about challenging where we could get more efficient in our operations of the town. And I do believe, like one area I can tell you, we have computer systems. Our departments don't talk to each other. So we're always putting information in. In other words, like if you were trying to do something at your house, where are your oil tanks? Well, that's at the fire department. Then you're gonna go to the building department. Nothing talks to each other. So when we're talking about taking money out of the budget, it's not about trying to take something away from the children in Linfield. Please don't even think that. It's about, from my perspective, getting the organization to run more efficiently. And instead of saying every year, because we can do a math equation on how much money we're going to have to spend in this town based on the past 12 years of behavior. We can say what we're going to have in 5 years, because we're just going to multiply it by 2.5. What I would like to do as your selectman, and I do have the time to do this, is to work with the department heads and say, how do we start from the bottom up about what your needs are? And not just about, what are they today, but what are they going to be in the long term? Because we need to plan. And one of the things that I've been hearing is, yes, we have all this money that's come into the town, but people are saying the town looks shabby. We want to reinvest in the town, but why are our roads in such bad shape? So anyways, thank you very much for your time, but I do think that we definitely can do better with being fiscally responsible and taking a look at how we're spending our money to give back to the taxpayers. Or to put a sign up, here are your tax dollars at work. Thank you.
I'd just like to rebut that. I don't know who my opponent's talking to, but the town of Linfield is not shabby. This is a beautiful community.
I'm sorry, Rich, I didn't see who was first, so.
Hi, Sheila Crafton, Millie Drive. I guess this is for Tim, Katie, and Chris. From last year to this year, kindergarten program went up another $100 from $2,500 to $2,600. And I just want to know if that's really warranted for the difference between 0.7 and a full-time kindergarten program.
Start with Tim.
To be quite honest with you, Sheila, I don't know why it went up, but I can tell you this. The kindergarten program in Linfield, the full-time kindergarten program, in its price is substantially lower than any community around. Yeah, I think you can go over to Melrose and they're looking at like $4,000. I think North Reading's in that same ballpark. I think we must be at, if we went up $100, we'll be at 2,700, Chris?
Yeah.
About 2,700. Is it warranted? It's an opportunity for parents to, expose their children to some more schooling. Is there a substantial educational difference? That's debatable. I mean, a lot of the kids are what they're doing in that extra time is they're going to what we call specials, gym, art, music, so on and so forth. To me, I find it a great upside because, you go from some kids don't have preschool to half-day preschool. You get into kindergarten, you can go that 3/4 day, or you can go full day. But to be honest with you, the stamina it builds in the children in kindergarten, when they hit first grade, any teacher in this district will tell you they are ready to hit the ground running because they have that stamina going to school for a full day. So I think that answers your question, hopefully. But Chris or Katie, if you want to go next.
It was Crafty, I think. Did you say it went up $100 to what figure?
I believe it was $2,500 to $2,600.
It's about $2,600. I want to say it's remained the same, but that's besides the point. Here's the point.
Oh, 27 is, this woman just said, because her kids are going next year.
That's incorrect, but we can correct that afterwards. But here is the issue. If my opponent has her way, and we don't go up to 2.5, kindergarten is going to cost a whole lot more, and we'll be coming to the people of Linfield for a whole lot more than $100. I think that's the important fact we have to discuss and consider. We provide a wonderful kindergarten program for the money we do. It's well below other surrounding communities. I'm more than happy to stand behind that program and with any program in the surrounding areas. And I know my opponent here has this graph. There's not one school system on that graph I'd want my kid to go to. When my opponent's starting to talk about per pupil expenditure and over my shoulder, that makes me nervous. There's a lot of students behind those numbers. If that's going to be the discussion we're going to have, that's troublesome for me. So we won't be worrying about kindergarten. We're going to be worrying about my opponent sitting down with all the department heads, one being the superintendent of the schools, asking, what are we doing with that per pupil expenditure? Is it too high? And that's not a question I want to hear.
Thank you so much. I appreciate Mr. Barrett's comments, but I have to be honest with you, I have no intention of talking to Jane Tremblay about per pupil expenditures. Jane Tremblay and I have had a conversation though, and she said to me, what do we need to do to make our schools better? She said, I want our schools to be better, Katie. And that was a conversation that I had with Jane. And as far as your children go, I'm going to reiterate again, Mr. Barrett can hijack my agenda all day long. I graduated from Linfield High School. My education brought me to where I am today. Some of you might like that, some of you might not like me standing here, but I'm here. But what I'm trying to say is education is extremely important. Our children are going to be competing in a global marketplace that we don't even know. I mean, it's going to be competitive out there, and we need to do the best we can for them. So when we talk about kindergarten, hold on one second. One second. I actually did some comparisons on kindergarten. I'm sorry. Oh, okay, here we go. I think this will be important to all of you. Okay, full day kindergarten. Full day kindergarten. Full day kindergarten. I do believe that our rates are very competitive in full day kindergarten. But when we take a look at this chart right here, and this actually I got from the school budget, full day kindergarten in 2010 our balance was $102,000. And Mr. Barrett, you can talk to this. Right now, as of 2015, our balance in full day kindergarten of January 31st, 2015 was almost $250,000. So we are definitely accruing more cash in full day kindergarten. And as far as, what we want to charge, that's it. That's all I can tell you is there is more cash accruing in full day kindergarten.
So it's a revolving account, so that money can only be used in the kindergarten. So we're really charging the parents too much.
Well, I answer
Because we have
that. I'm
that
not sure.
balance. What do you
Well,
think?
can a revolving account also go back to the general fund?
If you want
That's
to,
used to offset the school budget.
But it's
That's not a separate revolving account.
I mean, we can see my opponent's already looking to take money from the schools and bring it elsewhere. I'm not going to do that, I'm going to defend it.
That's not what I said.
Here's the thing. My opponent talks about transparency. I'm asking her, and a lot of people in Linford are asking her, to be transparent about where these cuts are going to come, where these reductions are going to come. I mean, kindergarten now, I think now that they see some money in kindergarten. One of the ideas I had on the school committee, and I think Tim, when he's on the school committee in the next couple of years, is possibly providing kindergarten at a reduced rate. I think that's a great idea. That's something we've discussed in the school committee. We'll certainly discuss it. But I'm not going to be looking at the accounts like my opponent just did and say there's some money there at the schools. I mean, earlier we heard about fire safety. She's looking at the ambulance service. There's a lot of questions that I think we need to have answered, and I'm just asking my opponent to be transparent.
Let me have that back, please. I don't want to purchase, sorry. I don't mean that, First of all, I believe, as your selectman, we are the government, as much money as I can keep in your pockets, I will. I am not going to be looking, everything that I'm presenting here is being twisted. And that's fine, that's okay, I'm not a politician, I'm a business person. I do believe that if 12 years of behavior with 2.5% increases, we can do better, especially with the new growth that we've seen. We can do better, we can provide you with better services, and we can improve your child's overall education. Another area that I want to tell you is, as we've discussed, is the middle school. All of you probably, how many of you have children in the middle school or going to the middle school? The middle school has the highest teacher ratio of 14.3 students to a teacher. That is probably where my opponent, he says he's corrected it, but on day one, it should have been an open, this is where we're going to improve our system. Because that is our level 2 school, is the middle school. Okay, so there are areas to improve, and there are efficiencies and optimizations. We can optimize our overall government in order to provide the taxpayers less of a tax increase next year and to provide you with better services. And I do believe wholeheartedly that we can do this. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, number one, my opponent likes to call me a politician. Number one, I'm a teacher, and I'm an educator. I've dedicated my life to helping the future of America. I've never received one penny for serving the town of Linfield. I volunteer my time to Linfield. Unlike my opponent, I'm not a newcomer to serving the community I love. I don't look at people who spent years volunteering their time as politicians. Our volunteers are the foundation of the community and deserve better. Now, the middle school isn't fixed. What I did when I got on the school committee 3 years, I started the hard work to get the middle school turned around. I started to work with the school committee and the prior superintendent and the current school superintendent, and I demanded results. It's because of myself working with the school committee. They were able to add teachers to the middle school. Not only that, we were able to add instruction time to the middle school. In addition to that, we were able to develop team education, oriented education by each grade level, which is very effective for the middle school. Now, we're starting to really see the results of the decisions I made with my school committee members at the middle school. We're making some positive forward progress. We're seeing continuous improvement. We're ready to make the next step in the middle school. The problem is my opponent's ready to take a look at the budget and see where we could possibly maximize it to reduce that 2.5% reinvestment in Linfield. I don't want to do that. On the Board of Selectmen, I'm going to hold the school committee accountable, as I will with the superintendent, to make sure we're still moving forward at the middle school. And I look forward to making sure the middle school does well, and I look forward to seeing both of my kids graduate from Linfield High School when it's the #1 high school in the Commonwealth, because that's one of my goals when I was on the school committee. It'll be the same when I'm on the Board of Selectmen.
Those are all admirable goals. As selectmen, we work with our department heads and we look over the budget. So why didn't you stay on the school committee?
Some of it, a lot of it was the rhetoric I was hearing from your side. I think that the wonderful work I've been doing on the school committee, when I started to hear that we had someone running for selectman who was looking at the overall budget, about reducing it by 2.5%, I became greatly concerned. And I've done well on the school committee. I think there's not a parent in the community that would say otherwise. I've worked hard for the school committee. I've done everything I can to provide the education our kids deserve. I think I can be an effective member of the Board of Selectmen. I think this is the right time for me to run for the Board of Selectmen because I want to make this community the very best it can be. It's not a shabby community. It is the best community.
Chris, you just said that, first of all, you just said that I wanted to reduce the budget by 2.5%. What we're talking about is a 2.5% levy limit that we put on the existing budget. There has never been a discussion about reducing the budget by 2.5%. It is going to be either 2.5% levy limit that we've had for 12 years, it could be a 2%, it could be, a 1.5%. But you keep on saying, you keep on taking this with a reduction. There is no reduction, Chris.
Can I explain it?
Well, into your terms, I guess you can.
Yeah, sure. Now, here's the thing. I've helped put together a municipal budget. I've worked with Governor Romney, put together municipal budgets for other communities, helping them. Here's what my opponent's not telling you. It is a 2.5% decrease. If you ought to look at the FY16 budget, there's that 2.5% increase built into it right now. That's worth $900,000. If my opponent has her way and she wants to reduce that level by any amount, we have to go to the town of Linfield, and I've heard some discussions about fire services and public safety. Where are we going to get that reduction? The capital needs projects will be reduced. That will start at the school. It'll start at some of the other great improvements we've made in Linfield the last couple of years, especially this past year. So it would be a reduction. See, I don't need any on-the-job training. This isn't rhetoric to me. I've worked hard. I've put together a budget for the town of Linfield, and I do know that's a reduction. And I don't want to go to the town of Linfield talking about a $900,000 decrease in the budget and a reduction in services and property values. I'm not going to do that.
As a business professional, basically what we're talking about is we're talking about growing the budget every year by the same increment. And for me, when you have the same incremental increase every single year, you're not looking to do anything more to give back to the taxpayers. I would like to do that. In addition to that, we have many contractual obligations that we're going to have to meet. So, there's a lot of things going into this budget. But at the same time, I think we can do better by the taxpayers. I think we can do better by your children. And I think that we need new ideas at Town Hall to help put us moving forward and helping to meet our long-term obligations of health care and pension funds that we're going to be funding. Thank you very much.
Hi, good evening, Jack Dahlstead from Lincoln Ave. So I'd like to answer the lady's question in the back, first of all, and then I'd like to follow up on Mr. LaCour's question if I could. The proceeds from the collections that are made for kindergarten offset the school budget. So they are directly offset to the overall school budget. So any proceeds that are collected directly offset the school budget. So the school budget is reduced by that amount, the collections that are occurred every year. Just
With the exception of the balance that's held in their revolving.
next year, that will be completely used, FY16. So it will, yeah.
No, because it was 100,000 in 2010, and now it's 250,000.
Every year, the previous year's balance is used. There is a balance in the account, as you know. Every year, the previous balance is used. So the collections from the previous year are used.
So how did you get $250,000 balance?
It accumulated over a period of time.
I disagree with you.
You can disagree with me.
That's fine. For 4 years. What happens with the revolving account is the money comes in July and the money goes out. The revolving account balance each year has gone up over the last 3 years. There is a surplus in the revolving account, period.
I'm not questioning that there's a surplus in the account. What I'm suggesting to you is that the previous year's collections are used to offset the following year's budget. So
No, you said the money was going out.
that's what I said. I know what I just said. Okay, so let's not.
Okay, I think we're not gonna have a debate across the floor.
So we can have as much of the, so what I would actually do is welcome you to come, and you can come to one of the finance committee meetings and I'll walk you through my understanding of exactly what happens. I think what's important to note is that money, whether there's a balance in the reserve or not, is being used to offset the school budget. There's nothing, they're not doing anything else with that. Right?
So offsetting the school budget on the backs of the people who are paying for kindergarten.
To offset the school budget.
On the backs of the people who are paying for kindergarten.
If that's the
That's
way
what
that
we're
you
doing.
feel
If you're
about
saying
it,
that
of
that's
course.
kindergarten budget goes to offset the school budget, people who pay for kindergarten offsetting the school budget.
Excuse me, so can I ask my question? If we could have a question addressed to one of the candidates, we'd appreciate it.
I'd like to follow up on Mr. LaCour's question and ask any and all of the candidates that would like to address it. I understand Mr. LaCour's definition completely of level funded and versus a 2.5% increase. What I would like to clarify is a 2.5% increase in our tax levy equates to about $900,000. That's 1.8% of a $50 million budget, okay? So just to ground where that is. What I would like to understand is if we were going to do what Mr. LaCour's and what the town meeting recommended last year, which is to recommend 2 budgets to town meeting this year, what would the candidates cut out? What would what would you do to decrease the current budget by $900,000? That's my question.
Do we have someone who'd like to address that?
Just also thank you for the great work you do on the finance committee. We're so fortunate to have someone like you who's dedicated his time to the community of Linfield, so thank you. I wouldn't cut anything. I think this budget is it's a fair budget. I was going to bring it to town meeting as the chair of the board of the school committee. I think we have a very good budget. I'd rather the community keep that 1.8% or the 1% or whatever it ends up being. Because for $80 a year on my property taxes, I can't even bring my family out to eat in one night. So I'd rather reinvest it in the community and keep us moving forward. And instead of having a discussion about the school department budget that I'm hearing tonight, I'd rather reinvest in the school department, keep us moving forward.
Jack, let me ask you a question, just so I can better understand this. When I first started thinking about the budgets, because my first thing was transparency, I started the transparency blog, many of you have read it. What kind of hit me, and if you can walk me through this, was Harry LaCourse asked at a town meeting for $40,000 to do an audit on the DPW. And it was told, well, we can't find $40,000 in the budget. So it was fine, that was at the town meeting. Then we voted for Center Farm, and I voted for Center Farm. We ended up paying $1.5 million for Center Farm in cash. So let me ask you, how could we not find $40,000, but then we could find $1.5 million?
So I believe I answered I was participating in the discussion with Mr. LaCours at town meeting. And I don't think the response was, we can't find $40,000. I think the actual response was, where do you want to take the $40,000 from? So I can't address your comments around Center Farm because the town voted overwhelmingly to do that. And I did not make that decision, clearly. But respectfully, neither one of you answered my question. I asked the question, if you had to reduce our budget by $900,000, what would you do? Everybody has talked about building the budget from the ground up. I have spent hundreds of hours of my life volunteering with the department heads that both of you have been talking about, building our budgets from the ground up. So I want to know, if you're going to take out $900,000 out of the budget, where are you going to do it?
Okay, this is what I need to qualify with you. When that was proposed, and the creator of the proposal is in the audience, we knew we were going to have $2.5 million worth of new growth. So the intention was not to take 900 out, it was to use the new growth instead of the 2.5 levy limit. So that's
occurred this year, not next year. So town meeting this year, if we follow the recommendation of Article 23,
right,
we would need to put forward 2 budgets to the town.
Right.
If this year, the new growth occurred this year, not this town meeting.
So what we would have done is not paid the note for $840. Right there, you would have had money right there, Jack. And then there's also going to be new growth coming in from Market Street this year.
But nobody's answering my question.
That was the intent of the bill. That was the intent of the bill. It was to give the money back to the people, Jack.
Jack, I'll
okay,
answer.
Thank you.
I'll answer this. Jack, here's the answer. This is the first year we haven't had to use free cash. Is that correct? This balances budget in a long time? So probably in the last 10 years. If we were to make that cut, a $900,000 cut, we're going to have to cut, probably the capital budget would be the first place. The schools wouldn't have the security cameras. The technology at the schools would be reduced. Now I know there's drainage issues on Canterbury Lane and Ledge Road. Those are the areas we'd have to pull back spending. We'd look at the capital budget first, and then go into the new hires, and it would go right into the schools. My opponent says that she's going to continue to fund the schools, but that's going to probably be one of the first places they look to find that $900,000. Because if you cut $900,000 this year, we have to find that money next year and then build it up again. Now we can ask ourselves this question right now. Do we want to be like North Andover looking at a 2.5 override? Do we want to be like Wakefield looking for an 11% increase in their school budget to get it to where Linfield is? We're at a good spot right now. Since 1990, we had 9 debt service overrides and overrides. I think we're at a good spot. I know we're at a good spot because I helped put together this budget to avoid having the necessity of overrides.
Is there a question in the back?
We have another question. If I could, the gentleman in the green sweater in the back, please.
So, Rich Ripley, 2 Lee Road. I've got a question for you. At the outset of this meeting, you stated that there's no real new growth. The town's the same as it was before. It hasn't changed much. It hasn't grown. But yet we talk about enjoying the new revenue from the new growth. And I agree with that. And I don't want to cut schools, and I don't want to cut any of the services here. But we're enjoying that new growth. We're enjoying Market Street, the new apartments that are there, the new soccer fields and all that. That all comes with a demand. There's bodies and people associated with that that cause a demand on our community. So we've got those things now. We wanted them as a community. We wanted the Center Farm. We wanted the school fields. We want all those things. We want great schools for our kids. We want all the public service. But if we say that we haven't changed, we're not willing to continue to fund that increased demand, because there's a demand that comes with all those bodies and all those people moving through our community. If we aren't willing to fund that, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. I don't know how we catch up to that once we get behind the 8 ball. If you could address that, that'd be great.
You're exactly right. There are new demands that have come onto the town. Now again, let me have another graph. All right. This one right here is showing you what's happening with the budget. So when you're talking about, and thank you for the question, when you're talking about the demands, we do need to hire additional police. And we knew that when Market Street came in. So that is going to be happening. But please, what we need to take a look at here, this is the blue is the police.
Can I just ask?
Yep.
Just police?
No, I'm just going through, well, I'm just going through the chart. First we have the police,
Are there any other public safety members?
fire. The fire department wants to also expand, okay? But they haven't gotten their budget increased much, but the police department will, they absolutely will. And actually, one of the police will be full-time at the school.
Yep.
So we're gonna have to have we're gonna have a policeman at the
Well,
schools.
part-time.
Yeah, okay.
Well, there's
Yeah,
part-time,
all right.
full-time.
And then we have DPW, there's additional demands on the DPW. But if you look here where our expenses are actually growing the most, where we have to start, is the employee benefits. And that's what I keep on talking about, is the employee benefits. Now, when we're talking about the 2.5% levy limit, what I'm saying is 100% I agree with you. I've been going to selectmen meetings now for 2 years. I want to drive more efficiencies in the organization. All right, just to get us so we don't always have to go to the $900,000 point. That does not mean, and I know we've had it indoctrinated, we have to have 2.5%. You look at other towns, I had Belmont up there, they're a level 1 school district. Since 2003, their taxes have increased 60%. Ours have increased 64%. So I do think that I run a manufacturing plant, we can be more efficient with our money. And then you can decide. If you were telling me, we say we have a surplus, we want to put money into the roads, we want to hire an additional fire person, you want to get $50 back in your taxes, go get them. That's what this is all about, giving you more control and transparency on your money. Thank you very much.
Well, $50 for a household really ain't that much. But to get that $50 is a whole lot to the school system, the public safety, and the community. Now, this new growth certainly has helped the town of Linfield for the last couple of years. I mean, a lot of the new growth helped us get through the recession. I think what we need to do is continue to build up our reserves. We have to pay off long-term debt that has already saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think we have to continue to purchase capital items that we haven't been able to purchase since the recession. Examples like the drainage issues that we've had, the 2 new police cruisers, the safety cameras at the high school and the other schools, new technology, radio, guns, the hoses for the fire department. We now have the opportunity to take this new growth and reinvest in our community. It is essential that we do so. I'm not looking to give you back $50. I'm looking to continue to move this town in the forward momentum that we all came to live in Linfield. We pay taxes, absolutely, they've gone up, but it's right there with state average. In all of these communities that my opponent keeps talking about, I guess Belmont is the one that is not too shabby. Linfield's the best. Linfield, I was talking about Belmont a couple of months ago, about how Linfield High School is going to be better than Belmont High School, and we're going to get the level 2 middle school to level 1 because of the plan I helped put into place. And the other thing we need to do with our new reserves and with the new growth is to continue to work on our bond rating. Now, there's some in this audience that like to say that Linfield isn't well run, or we could be more efficient. I'm going to say I trust Wall Street. They're the ones who really understand. They looked at our books and said we have a AA+ rating. And what Jack Dahlstead is doing with the Finance Committee, with the town administrator, with this new investment, is we're going to pay down the debt, and we're going to get to a AAA rating, which will allow us to reinvest and take out loans that are at a lower interest rate and save the community of Linfield. Keep us moving forward.
Finally, yes.
Susan Dunn, 12 Wood Terrace. I'm still frustrated over the overturning of town vote. I sat there for 5.5 hours till 12:30 at night. I have to get up at 5 in the morning. I made the commitment. I would be interested in knowing from both selectmen candidates your perspective of town vote being overturned by Selectmen Nelson and Crawford.
Well, I'm not running against Nelson and Crawford. I'm going to tell you right now, I will absolutely never overturn town meeting. That won't happen. Now, if you look at one of the case that I talked about with the 2 budgets, our charter says we cannot present 2 budgets to town meeting. Now, someone will stand up here tonight and say, well, town meeting said so. Well, we talked to the Secretary of State, Galvin, and he said we can't do it. Charter won't allow it. I absolutely believe in the rule of the people. When I was on the school committee, I think I had a pretty good record. and a reputation for someone who will listen to constituents, listen to concerns of the community, and make sure we're doing the right thing.
That's an excellent question. I absolutely will never overturn town vote. It won't happen. Unlike my opponent, though, my opponent was on the school committee when they failed to notify parents about new teacher contracts and on professional development days. So that's something that, you know, I would have gone out to the, that did cause a lot of havoc in households. So that's something that has happened. In addition to that, I think the town vote is our purest form of government. And I believe that the people in Lynnfield need to become more involved in just this forum here today, whether you're voting for either candidate. The conflict between he and I has made all of you engage in the process. This is the best thing for Lynnfield. You should have better information. You should have easy to understand information so you can make decisions about this community that are important to you. And what I believe is we can either continue to blindly have our 2.5% increases, and everybody can say what they need around the kitchen table, or we can start challenging ourselves, because we do have huge pension obligations coming down. I am not saying we have to fully fund them. Okay, Jeff, you don't fully fund it, but we have to have visibility to what our long-term obligations are. And we're having discussions now about a new library. We'll be voting on a new library probably in the next year or so. We need to have a good financial report card so you can decide, do you want a library? Can you afford a library? And that's what I will be bringing to the table. We might be building a new youth rec center. That's another thing. If you want to vote on it, that's fine. But you need to have a solid footing. We do have excellent bond ratings. A bond rating is something that has happened in the past. It's based on financial information that's available. And we're looking at potentially how we can move forward. That's our bond rating. What I'm talking about is in the future of Lynnfield. We need to prepare ourselves. We need to be fiscally responsible so we can take on the challenges that are ahead of us. And if we can do better by the taxpayers' dollars and we can stretch those dollars, then we should be doing that. And that's something that I bring to the table. Thank you.
Would you like the microphone? So we've had this very patient woman sitting in the front all night. We're glad to let her ask a question now.
I just want to ask a question to both candidates. People in South Lynnfield have been faced with a lot of things over the past year, 2, 3, and it's very concerning. And the word shabby, we're afraid of shabby. Right now we have a vapor lounge behind us. We're worried about CVS potentially going in. We have an F-rated traffic area. We got a lot of things going on, and the people in South Lynnfield have been fighting for a long time. So I'd like to ask both candidates what you think about South Lynnfield. Where are you going to stand with us? Do you have our back? We don't want lip service. We want to hear from you. We want you to work with us. And I'd like to hear what you have to say about that.
Absolutely, I love this question. If you vote for my opponent, we'll have all selectmen within 1 mile of each other on the other side of Lynnfield. I stand with you because I'm from South Lynnfield. I'm right off of Fairview Avenue. My children go to Huckleberry Hill School. My wife and I live in a 2-family, and I love South Lynnfield. So I will fight for South Lynnfield. But you know what? I'm not all rhetoric. I'm not all talk. I've already had a whole lot of action working for the citizens of South Lynnfield. Pearly Borough, I live right behind. I had to live with that. My property value was being devalued because of what happened in Pearly Borough. I was the one that stood up for South Lynnfield and went to the town, worked with the town government to help solve that. There's a lot of issues in South Lynnfield that need to be handled. But you got to ask yourself this question. Who's going to be the best friend? Your neighbor in South Lynnfield or somebody else who lives on the other side of Lynnfield who's just coming to listen? I have a record of serving South Lynnfield. I look forward to being a selector from South Lynnfield because I agree. It's been far too long since we've had representation on the South of Lynnfield, and there'll be no better fighter than me for South Lynnfield.
Thank you very much. Heather, as you know, I have been going to meetings about South Lynnfield, traffic issues, for over 18 months. My opponent hasn't shown up. He did do something about, he wrote whatever he did with Pearly Borough is behind him.
Well, that's not
But
true. I have gone to the meetings.
Right.
If you want to be transparent.
18 months, Chris, you haven't shown up.
I have.
You haven't shown up for 18 months, Chris.
I might not have shown up in a coffee for you. But I
No,
have shown
Chris, no, that is, all right, challenge me. So anyways, I have been going for 18 months to these traffic meetings. And it's something that, because when I grew up in Linfield, it was one community, and we all took care of each other. That's the way it was. And we were just one community. So I've been going to traffic issues for 18 months. I've met with Heather. I've gone up and down your street in the neighborhood. I've also had an urban sprawl meeting. And I have a billboard petition going right now. I had a meeting, I had Scenic America in, talking with the neighbors. So no matter where I live, I have the time, and I've actually facilitated and helped conversations. So it's something that, no, I will not be, I think actions speak louder than words, and I've shown up and I've been there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sir in the blue sweater.
Mark McDonough, 167 Fork Road. I have two concerns. I keep hearing about the schools, and I have family members in the school too, and a third one going in shortly, and I'm very concerned about the schools. Also, as a senior, I'm very concerned about the tax rate. The 6% rates, we can't absorb. We're living on limited incomes. I think there's a lot of fear-mongering going on here. Why is it, Mr. Barrett, that the school system cannot live on new growth plus 2.5%, and why is it you refuse, you're so afraid of doing a bottom-up budget? Do you think it's impossible to find any efficiencies if each and every department in this town did a bottom-up budget? And if you're so good at quoting the town charter, tell me what the town charter says about the budget.
Well, here's the thing.
Answer the question. Don't give me the thing.
Okay.
I don't want to hear you work for Romney and this and that. I want you to answer my question.
Well, thank you. You know me well. Here's the thing. I
was good for you, be good for me.
I maximized our budget. I don't disagree. Now, a lot of we've been very efficient and effective for the last 3 years with Linfield Public Schools. It's because of my leadership working with the members of the school committee.
That's not what I asked.
Can I answer the question?
Go ahead.
And then you can decide in the booth whether I answered it well. And here's the answer that I'm going to give you. We found efficiencies in that school budget. We only had less than 0.25% of new spending in my 3 years on the school department budget. We were able to look at the budget and reallocate resources to other areas within it. We were able to put the resources into special education and at the middle school. Have we done enough in those two areas? Absolutely not, but we're moving forward. So absolutely, I think we have to look at every single budget. I'll be no different than I was on the school committee. I will make sure we're maximizing every single resource. I will hold the town department heads accountable, but I'm also going to allow the town administrator to do his job. We invest a lot of money in that position. I think we should allow him to do his job, do well, work with the finance committee, and to continue to move the community forward.
I asked why you won't do a bottom-up budget, and you're so good at quoting the town charter. What does the town charter say about budgeting?
I'm not going to give you, I won't be able to quote the town charter on the budget, but I'm more than happy to get a printout of the charter afterwards. We can review it afterwards. That's no problem. What I'm talking about with the budget is what we do at the schools, is we take a look at, we have the department heads come in with the school committee. We talk to every single department head, every principal, administrators, and the superintendent, and they have to defend their budget. They have to defend every single line item to us on the school committee and make sure they're spending efficiently. We've removed a lot of spending because we thought it wasn't efficient. We've took that spending and we put it to the other parts of the budget, like the middle school and some at the high school, but also special education. We've added, I think, 8 staff members at special ed over the last 3 years. We've built programs. We've started to put the money into special education that it deserves. We're starting to make the right progress in special education. Are we there yet? No. But I'm not willing to go with my opponent and reduce our spending and be critical of that spending and allow us to take a step back. That won't happen.
Thank you very much for the question. What I have to add is going to finance committee meetings and listening to Jane Trembley's most recent finance report that we were all at. Our biggest savings with the schools have been in special education. And this is something that we have a very good special ed director, Kara. She started doing this process a while ago. And what she actually did was build programs so children that were outplaced for special education could actually come back into the community and be taught. So this is where the true cost savings has come. And this came from a special education person with the training and knowledge of how to build the programs and bring the children back into Linfield. And this is a good thing for our community because the children are now able to stay within the community. That's where the biggest cost savings has come with the schools. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a gentleman straight in the back.
Thank you, Frank Localato, Boats Terrace. This is to both selected candidates. And for the sake of time, I think maybe boil it down, but we've heard a lot about initiatives and issues that we're faced with as a town. I'd like to understand what both of you recognize as the major challenges we're faced with as a town, and how it aligns with your priorities, and what some of your solutions are to solve that.
Thank you for that question. I think it's a very good question. I think there's a lot of areas of need in Linfield. One of the concerns, I can't say it enough about my opponent, is in her group, of reducing that 2.5%, that $900,000. Do we really need it? We do need it, and the reason is this. We have to reinvest in Linfield. That's going to include the infrastructure. We need it. We have a 40-year plan right now with our roads. We need to fully fund that at $1 million. I think if we continue to go with the program, I think it'll take us 100 years before we need to get to it, before we finalize it. We need to take that, the new growth coming in, and not look at that as ways of just savings from the budget, reducing taxes, and cutting the budget or cutting any new growth moving forward. So I think, look at public safety. Look at the police. We've added 2 police officers, and one is going to be shared with the SRO at the high school and at Market Street. I think we have to take a look at that because we have to listen to the neighbors around Market Street, because I understand what it's like in the South Linfield, having a lot of that traffic. Do we need another police officer? I think that's another area of investment we have to look at. Fire and safety services. One of their trucks, I think, was 30-plus years old. We have to take a look at that. That's another capital need. So we have to keep moving this community forward. And the discussion I'm hearing a lot tonight from my opponent about savings and looking at the budget, and do we really need to spend $900,000? That's not what we need to do. You have my promise as a selectman to continue to move the community forward and invest in the areas of need, because there's many in Linfield, and I look forward to doing that.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you very much. One of the areas that, all right, first of all, our spending growth is outpacing our revenues coming in. Our anticipated, we have a $50 million budget. Our revenues are growing by 2.94%. That's what's projected. Our expenses have grown by 6.36%. According to Governor Baker, he says this type of behavior is not sustainable. So that's something that we do need to look at as far as, because we're outspending our actual revenue coming in. The other areas that I do think that we need to look at is we definitely need to have additional police, but we've talked about the additional policeman that's going to be going to the schools. Sitting in meetings, this police person will probably be consumed most of the time with activities with the school, because according to our superintendent. We do need to address the traffic issues in Market Street, and that's something that it has to be addressed. We also have to address the growth issues that are happening in different neighborhoods. We have to start looking, I believe we have to start looking at our town as one town. Where do we want to go? What's the long-term plan? We all need to know what is the long-term plan. Is it a library? Is it, the rec center for the children, which are all great things. But we should have a long-term plan of where the town is going. And we also have to start addressing, we have some neighborhood issues with drainage we have to be addressing around Worthmore and Perry Ave. We have our long-term situation with maintaining our roads. So we have to start looking at, unfortunately, we do have to look at our budgets. That's what makes everything happen in this town. You have to look at budgets. And we have to challenge ourselves to make our school system the best it can be for our children. So, because we have a moral obligation to educate our children, and a good school system is good for all of our property values. Thank you very much.
Gentleman in the striped shirt.
Driscoll, 19 Juniper Road. Do you think the Fields project at the high school, what was your stance on that and Market Street? And do you think now that they're done that they were a good idea, and would you support any future Fields projects?
I voted to move ahead with the Fields project. What I wanted to do was to get the park grant, which would mean that the land behind the high school would be transferred over to open space, parks, and recreation. And what I highlighted in my letter was that, because I wrote a public letter, was North Reading did it, and they did not get any, they didn't go for park grant funding because they'd already applied for it for the Ipswich River. But Salem did it as far as transferring the land over. The reason why I want us to apply for the park grant is because we could have gotten up to $400,000 for the grant. It would have helped the taxpayers. We did apply for the park grant at Jordan Park, but the Jordan Park isn't something that we're probably going to have to resurface every 8 to 10, 12 years, whatever time frame. So that didn't happen. As far as a new project for the fields, it would depend on if it's a grass project or another turf project. I know now just we have to, and Mr. Maney can speak to this, but you know, the turf fields, we have to take care of them in a certain way. We've had dogs on the fields, people hitting golf clubs off the fields, and that's something that we need to be able to control. So I would support if we need additional fields, but I would have to honestly take a look at, you know, how much is it going to cost, and are we going to go down the road of turf, or are we going to start turning some maybe reeding meadow into some grass fields, which would be the more economical way to go. I'm sorry, what was the second part of your question? Oh, Marcus.
Marcus, what was your stance on Market Street, and do you think it was a good idea?
I have to be honest with you, I hadn't moved back to town during the vote of Market Street, so I came here afterwards. So I do enjoy Market Street, I will tell you. I sympathize with the people that have the traffic issues. I mean, that's why I've been going to the traffic meetings for a long time, and we have to manage it. I mean, you know, Market Street is, we have to manage Market Street and make sure it's friendly to our neighborhoods. Thank you. What?
You wouldn't support another turf field, is what you're saying?
No, I didn't say that. I said that I'd have to, because we have a lot of other projects coming along. We have the library coming, there's a lot of other projects. So I'd have to really look at, I would like a big master plan that we all know. So that's what I would say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. I fully supported both projects. And I worked on both moving those projects forward for the town of Linfield. When I was in Linfield and Market Street, I lived here since I was a kid, 2 years old, so I did vote for Market Street. I also not only voted for the Fields project, but I supported it every step of the way on the school committee. And I made that one of our items on the school committee to make sure we could work with that crew to move it forward. Now, my opponent keeps talking about having this plan in place. What we do, we have the Capital Facilities Advisory Committee headed up by Ted Caswell. He's taken a look at a lot of this with his committee, reviewing town properties, and we're going to present their findings to the Board of Selectmen. There's a lot of good projects right now we need to look at, but I think we need to look at it as an overall picture. We have to have a plan, because there's a desire for a new police station, new fire, DPW. I'm on the library building committee. There's going to be that discussion. We need to make these decisions as a whole with the community. Now, another turf field or another type of field project, absolutely, I'd support that. And I'd look forward to working with the crew that put together the Fields project at the high school. And I would do everything I can to help it and support it. And I think there's a lot of great groups right now that are working to raise funds, to do it privately. I think we're going to raise about $3+ million of private funds to do over the other fields. Anything I can do to support that, I will. I will not be a hindrance to any type of momentum for another fields project.
Jim, when you asked me that question, were you referring to the middle school field? See, when you said that, I know that we have a whole fields projects to the middle school and to the baseball fields. That to me is done. Is there another turf project you're talking about or referring to?
Yeah, they are talking about additional fields that they want to turf, and I just wanted to see what you're...
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. I would say that, you know, as long as everybody knows what the financial report card is, it goes to the people, you're voting on it. It's all of our town. Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, here she comes.
Something that I've long thought would be helpful to everyone in this room is a line item school budget in our town warrant. And I've asked for it year after year after year. Because on the town side of the budget, they call it, we get line items, about 102 line items. For the schools, we only get 3 or 4 line items, and that is over 50% of our budget in town. So I wonder what the candidates would think about publishing in the town warrant the line items for the school budget, as well as we publish the line items in the other part of the budget, the police, the fire, the DPW and all. Now, I realize fully that the school committee is in charge of those line items per the Education Reform Act in 1993. But in order for us to vote with knowledge at town meeting as to what the bottom line is for the schools, that is our responsibility. I would like to know if the candidates would support at future town meetings to have published, as many other towns do, the line items for the school, so that there are at least as many line items as there are for the other side of the budget. Thank you.
No, I can't agree with you more. We do a lot of that already. I think any information that we can provide to the voters of Linfield to make a better decision, absolutely. Every one of those line items, I think you should see them. And I think would help you probably the better support the work we're doing in the schools. Everything's available. You can see it. I got it right up here. You can take a look at the school department budget. All right, go see Ms. Tremblay or online. You can see that budget. I think it's a good idea. I think any type of information we can share. I know my opponent talks about her transparency blog. For the last 3 years, I've been transparent on the school committee. I was the one that passed the policy to put all the agendas and meeting minutes online. Is that our cue?
I totally agree. The more information that's out there, the better for everybody. And I think it's a great idea. Hopefully, we can move on that. And I think you're entitled to it. Thank you.
Dan, you want to respond on that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. My only response to Mrs. Campbell's question is, I served 12 years on the school committee, and the budget process starts really starts in July when you set your goals, but we really start digging down on it beginning in December, right before Christmas. And we do have a public hearing, and I've got to be very honest with you, and I always reference this one point. Nobody comes to the public hearing. Nobody. And the one event that stands out in my head, and Mrs. Campbell probably won't remember it, but it was just about 13 years ago, we had a public hearing. We started at 7 o'clock. We waited until 7:30. We went into executive session in the superintendent's office. At 7:30, we see a little head in the window, and it's none other than Mrs. Campbell. But to be very honest with you, the school department doesn't try to hide anything. We have the public hearings. People don't reach out. So, putting it in the warrant book, great. It's 28 pages. Go ahead, knock yourself out. But nobody is coming looking to get that information. And so to say on April 27th that they didn't have a chance to look at it, BS. Absolute BS. It's at the superintendent's office. Now it's online. It was at the library before. We have the public hearing. People don't come. And there's nothing we can do to help that. If they're not interested, they're not interested. So that's my answer to that question.
Just 2 minutes, 1 or 2 more questions. Someone had their hand.
Yeah, I'm Melissa Sorrentino. I live over on Fairview Road. So I've seen a lot of numbers. I've seen some tables here as far as education is concerned, and as far as financially with the 2.5, the increase and everything else. What I'm not seeing is the average household income, how much that's changed over the last 10 years. Everyone is receiving raises across the board in 50 years. So in every level across the board, everything is increasing. So we've kind of seen a slow increase. I think it's funny that you picked Belmont because some of the other level 1 communities, they pay $18,000 annually in their taxes. We're actually in line with Andover, so we're just a little bit above average. The average is like 5,100 and we're at, I think are we 8,000 right now at this point? So to think that other communities are paying 18,000, 17,000, we're not. And the other thing that I'm not seeing as far as education is concerned, now I watch the news on the national level and I would love to hear from the candidates what they think as far as you can't compare things from one year to the next year because having a daughter in high school and having a daughter in 2nd grade, things have changed drastically. I had no idea what Common Core was until my daughter came home with her homework. And I said, what is this? Okay, I really didn't understand that it was required that we have increased PD, required that now we have iPads, required that the students have assessments every single month. I mean, my 7-year-old is constantly being assessed and taking tests. That has put a huge demand on resources over the last few years across the entire nation. I have yet to see that data as far as your growth and using the growth to do that, because this is new. This is all new within the last few years. All of a sudden, all the schools in every city and town, they're trying to say, okay, what do we have to do to meet these new demands? I would like to know how you feel as though the Common Core and the changes that the teachers and the communities have had to face, how do you feel as though that's impacted the new growth and financially?
Melissa, I concur with you. I'm an assistant principal at the K-8 school in Everett. I understand certainly the significant burden or the job of Common Core and a lot of the financial stress that's put on education and public education especially. We have a whole lot of investment that we're doing right now in Linfield. One thing we'll be able to do in Linfield, and I can't stress this enough because it's great work of the school committee and the superintendent, to really work within our budget. We've done a lot of great work with the money we have. We've maximized every single resource so that we've only seen on the last 3 years less than 0.25% of the need for new spending. That's extraordinary. That's outstanding in the town of Linfield. It's not the school committee, but it's the town of Linfield really should pat themselves on the back because the town meeting, they approve that budget, they look at our budget, and they give us that vote of approval. Now, there is a lot of stress put on our school district, especially Linfield. That technology, that's a big piece. That's a big investment in Linfield Public Schools. This year, it's about, the capital piece, about $500,000. The town of Linfield, because we value education, we understand how important technology is, has given us a line item of about $250,000. This year, the town of Linfield looking at the security cameras, looking at the Wi-Fi at the elementary schools. Because what we've seen with the technology initiative in that new investment to bring these students up to the 21st century standards, which is a requirement, but you don't take care of that in high school. We're trying to put that back into the middle school. I'm hearing about tremendous work being done here in the Huckleberry Hill and the Summer Street School with technology, the media and library media specialists. That's why we added an aide at the middle school. There's a need for investment in education. I know it's not all about the schools, that's half the budget. Just as the same need for public safety, infrastructure. That's why I keep talking about the need to fully fund our budget in our legal means, up to 2.5%. I think the discussion shouldn't be, can we lower that number, but look at the requirements in education and what we need to do to make sure these students have the 21st century skills they need to be successful. As selectman, I'm going to make sure that continues, just like I've been on the school committee.
Melissa, to answer your question, it was funny, before I was walking out today, I was watching one of the school reels on the new technology that's happening in Linfield, and it was great. You know, kids are writing books and they've got a little mouth that's talking, telling the story, so it's great. There is a lot of stress on kids right now because it's testing, and I actually talked to Jane about that, and she said to me, what do you think? And I said, well, personally, and having kids that are older, because my kids are now going off to college, it's important that we do try to find a balance, but we have to continue to provide and invest in the technologies to move the kids forward through the system. In addition to that, we have a challenge, and our challenge is, and I'm going to go back to it, our revenues are increasing about 3%, and our budget is increased by over 6%. So the family is going to be sitting around the table. How are we going to take care of all of our bills as we continue? We need to invest in education. We need to take care of the children. We have definitely moving forward with the technology piece. The one thing that I did question, we started off with iPads. Now we're over to the Chromebooks. I know the iPads have better, as far as the visual with the camera, that's what I was, hearing today. So I do think that we need to standardize more in our technologies. In addition to that, someone with a high-tech background, we need to start thinking about how technology is going to continue to change. So possibly we could start doing something more of a rental or a lease replacement. I don't know if that's been looked at by the school committee or not, but because what's going to end up happening in the near future is the processing power. We're going to have 3D imaging that's going to be coming. So we'll have all these things available in the next 3 to 5 years. So we're moving in the right direction, but definitely, and I talked to Mr. Cleary about this at the high school, about kids always being stressed out about the tests. So how do we back off and just say it's okay just to get through it, do the best you can?
This is a national thing. So what I'm saying is when you're comparing 2005, 2007 to today, how would you feel if someone just threw it at you and said, you have to have technology next year? You don't have time to think about it. You don't have time to try it.
No.
That's exactly what happened to all the cities and towns everywhere.
Right.
Everywhere, because these kids are going to be tested on computers. It's a requirement. It was basically, that's why I was upset with Common Core, because it took it out of the hands of a local government and removed it. You have nothing, we have nothing to say now. That's it. We have to teach the way they want us to teach. Call it a day, that's it. So what I'm saying is your charts of comparing, saying that everything stays the same year after year, it doesn't. That was a huge, ginormous shift. The teachers are out. Now they have to do other PD, they have to take assessments, we need to have substitutes in here. It's changed everything. That's not because we want it to change, it's because it was forced upon us.
Right. I don't think that the charts I was showing you showed that nothing has changed. I mean, it was just a continuum of a graph. But you're absolutely right. It was forced on you. Things are going to change. You know when it's going to change again. So we have to be prepared for that. And that's part of the long-term planning. That's part of, why someone knows that an additional turf field is in the works, but I don't know it. It's like we all need to know the plan so we can meet the demands of the town. So thank you very much.
Can I just the wonderful thing with Linfield is we were ready for the change. We had made that investment in technology. The high school absolutely is ready. Now I know my opponent just said that she heard about the iPads, we went to Chromebooks. That's because we moved. We're moving with the technology. We saw that the Chromebooks were more effective. The iPads are just as effective. They're more effective for math, science. The Chromebooks add a whole other option for us at the high school. So the one thing, Linfield, what I can say, is that we're visionaries. I mean, the public school in Everett right now, we're trying to get caught up right now with the park test. Linfield's ready because we've had the investment. The community looked at the public schools, and we've continued to reinvest in our public schools, and we've been ready. It's a burden, but Linfield's ready because of the investment of the community.
That's going to have to come to the end of our question session. We've just about run out of time, but we would like to give each candidate one more opportunity to give some final thoughts if they have. I guess at the beginning we started this way, so maybe now we can start coming back the other way. Mr. Walsh.
Thanks, sir. Thank you much. Appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming and for your attention this evening. Spirited debate. Again, you didn't hear much about the Housing Authority because it's largely independent. But that said, even though we are entirely funded almost exclusively off of rents.
Keep it short.
Yes, sir. Nonetheless, we're a consumer of public services. I think the fire department has 6 or 7 calls per day. They're running up to 2,000 calls. And per capita, before Sunrise and before Linfield Commons, we were the biggest users of those services. So we have a very interested concern in what goes on in the community, and we just wanted to be part of the process. Thank you very much for your attention, everyone.
Thank you to both PTOs again for hosting this tonight. And I just, a lot of this discussion involved the school department. I just want to say this about the Linfield School Department and the Linfield Public Schools. They are incredibly healthy. And so I want to say thank you to everybody that supported the Linfield Public Schools. Having said that, there are unfunded federal mandates that we touched upon at the very end here. There's evolution in education every year. New ideas coming up, new technology being introduced. And I just want to say, your investment is being spent wisely. The school department is run very, very well. We do not spend money foolishly. We look at class sizes every month. We look at class sizes at the beginning of every year. We look at class sizes when we start our budget process. We don't have extra staff laying around. Where we have extra staff, we move it to where our needs are. I just want to say, no matter which way you vote on April 13th, please keep in mind that you have a great school district. Don't make a decision against the school district. Thank you.
I want to thank everybody for the time that you gave tonight. This was an important meeting. I hope you got some of your questions answered. As a business professional and a business owner, I have to say that our revenue growths, again, have increased by 3% this year, and our budget increased by 6%. We are spending more money than we're bringing in. Our obligations for healthcare and pensions are going to continue. I know this is it's the reality of what's happening. We need to plan properly so we can keep our schools strong, and despite what people say up here, I do plan on funding the schools. We need to take care of the children. But at the same time, we need to meet our obligations, and we need to have a cohesive long-term plan that we all know about, so we can have a solid financial report card and understand what's coming down the pike. So that's something that I'm very strong about. I have the time to do this job. I want to give back to the community. I would like you all to be able to walk into town meeting and understand financially where we're at, where our debt's at. Also, we need to move forward to make our community the best it can be. We need to work together as one community and address neighborhoods. And we need to remember that this is our town. I will never overturn a town vote. I do believe in transparency, and I want to give more information to you so you can make the best decisions possible. Thank you very much.
I'd also like to thank PTOs. I know especially how wonderful the PTOs are and what they do for the public school system, so thank you. I want to thank the community for the great honor I've had to serve on the Linfield School Committee. It's been my pleasure to work hard to make sure Linfield Public Schools is among the best in the state. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm a proud father of 2 school-aged children. And this, I agree with Tim Doyle, is a very extremely important election for our schools. And the result could negatively impact Linfield Public Schools for years to come. Now, it's expected that candidates will make promises while campaigning for office. In the last several weeks, my opponent has shared some of these promises, which in reality are not attainable. And tonight we heard some more of these promises. We hear about transparency. My opponent's not being transparent about what she will exactly do with the budget. There's a lot of talk, but no specifics, and we've asked for that. With limited resources, it's simply not possible to fund all programs and activities of the school department, the senior center, or any other of the departments. And to indicate otherwise is indigenous and wrong. My promise to the people of Linfield is this. As selectmen, I'll continue to make the tough, fiscally responsible decisions that the voters of Linfield expect and they know of me. I'll remain transparent and be open to the needs of the entire community. I'll work with my fellow selectmen in a positive manner to help move Linfield forward. I'll remain an independent thinker with no ties to any outside groups with agendas. My only focus will be to work for the best interests of our town and residents. Now, the important questions for the voters are these. Are you ready to choose a candidate that could set Linfield and Linfield Public Schools back for years to come? Are you ready to choose someone like my opponent who speaks about transparency but has not been transparent on where she will make the necessary cuts to implement her policies? Or rather, do you want to vote for someone like myself who already has a successful track record effectively serving the town of Linfield? Because the real question is this: why select an unknown candidate and wonder how they will lead when you have the opportunity to vote for a known, proven, independent leader like myself with a successful and a long track record of serving the town of Linfield? The answer to these questions are important because the outcome of this election will have consequences for many years to come. I humbly request your vote, and I thank you for the great honor it's been to serve you in the town of Linfield.
Concludes our candidates night. Thank you all for coming, and we hope to see you Monday night, April 13th, Election Day.